domination, and that's one of the nice. I think Nvidia doesn't deliver the they don't give you the free driver. Or probably people will encourage me to say open source drivers, but they have some fairly good performance sometimes when they do physics and things on the GPU. And I know that NASA uses quite a few of those clusters with GPUs to try and accelerate certain types of operations, especially like physics simulation with CUDA, and they can do certain things which draw polygons and take advantage of the APIs that they have in these cards. I'm not sure what China is doing with these computers, but it turns out that they make very sophisticated use of these Linux computers with GPUs on them. So it kind of shows you graphics in Windows, and acceleration in Linux is actually pretty impressive in terms of performance. One more thing I wanted to go through is a certain company. It's called Megaphone Siberia. Is moving the call centers to a Linux-based solution. Quite a few of these things happen to be generally spread. And we heard about Avaya, I think is the name of the company, basically also dropping Office and Windows and moving to Linux. So all these those companies that sell to big businesses are starting to deploy Linux instead of Windows, and that's good news. I think you wanted to say something, though.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I was going to say, just in typical fashion for tonight, going back, I've heard the fork of Mandriva being pronounced in different ways, and in English, that is very hard to pronounce as Magia or something. So if anyone knows, to me it looks Portuguese or looks Spanish maybe. So if anyone who speaks that language knows how to properly pronounce that, it might be an idea of posting it somewhere so that we could all start pronouncing it properly.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the word, you can probably tell.
Yeah, it's in English. It doesn't quite work in English. As I say, it looks Portuguese to me. But on the subject of like supercomputers, to me that's like Top Gear and reviewing the McLaren F1. It's something that I'm never going to have any realistic experience of. It's just something that's way beyond anything even remotely real world. So good luck to them. Seriously, good luck to them. But it's like a totally different world for me. Other than the fact that it can be put to good use, as far as I know. There's stuff like Folding at Home, which does maths, really complex maths problems, and helping scientists come to run tests, and they're doing for all sorts of good causes, trying to find the genes that cause breast cancer and all these kind of tests. And anything that can do that as a sort of cluster or a shared experience type of thing, that can only be a good thing for
I speak from
the planet.
Personal experience here. When I did my PhD, and back when I was doing lots of experiments to do with the basically you want to try and use sets as large as possible. And what we had in the computer science department, we had like 200 computers basically spread around the clusters and available via SSH. And what I would do, I would work at night. I would connect to, say, 50 nodes of these computers. I could do even more. And I would then arrange things so that basically I ran simulation on each one of those 50 computers during the night and run simulation and accumulate the data on a common workspace, which would be joined among the computers. That's the way it's built. And it was all based on Fedora. So I kind of owe Fedora or Linux and all this architecture the ability to do something which would have taken me months to do it in like one night, actually run them and split them among the computers. And this is one of the things which enabled me to get lots of results done and get lots of to get the error bars in my experiments quite small because I had a very large set to work with, and other people would have to work night after night in their workstation. It would be absolutely terrible. That just shows you it's the type of thing you cannot do very easily with Windows, working on 50 computers and kind of joining the results in a common file store. I don't know how to do this with Windows, but I never use Windows, so that's just a story I had. That's what I think that the separation in Linux between the different components and the graphical user interface. Because I had to run interfaces out of Windows on my desktop. I would have different windows on 50 different computers, actual windows being drawn and all over the network, and how it would work and click things on 50 different computers with windows being assigned to each machine. I don't know if in Windows I think you have to open like a whole session and to have something like VNC or something arranged in the experiments on different computers, but anyway, I don't know about Windows. I just wanted to mention another quick article. We'll have it maybe in the show notes. It's about a person called Robert Poxon. He's Canadian, and he works in a school, and he always brags about how would Debian make things very easy for him to install it for people. And now one person wanted to install 7 without having it pre-installed on her computer, and he actually took the time, and he gives you a detailed explanation of what he did. It took him 4 hours to just properly install the thing. And he's a guy who knows IT and knows how to work with it. It took him 4 hours, half a day's work, just to install it on one person's machine. So
To install Windows 7, you mean?
Yeah. Obviously not pre-installed. People don't think about installing all the things afterwards and arranging things the way they should be set up. So getting drivers, and we don't think about getting drivers. It's there. If it's free software, it's there, and it will be loaded with the kernel when you need that. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, I kind of look at the installing thing as like a 2-part process. When you compare installing an operating system, for me, you've really got to compare it from both sides. You've got the first section is really taking it from either a bare hard drive or a space on a partition, and you're booting from the CD or the USB or the DVD or whatever it is, and they're going through the initial process up until the first reboot when you're booting into the very first Virgin login of that OS. That's the first stage. And for me, I don't really see that much of a difference, in all honesty, between Windows and Linux. Yes, you've got the product key, but by and large, there's not that much of a difference at that stage. The huge difference comes when it comes into first boot. In Linux, it's a quick refresh of the repos, and just one click to select all your updates and apply. Whereas with Windows, you've got to look out all your CDs and do them all one at a time. Everything wants a reboot. Absolutely everything wants a reboot. And you have to reboot on one update before you can even look for the next one. And then, of course, you've got the hassle of you can't even go online to even start doing any of that until you've got your firewall and your antivirus, your anti-spyware already installed. So it's this whole thing about the order to do things, and the fact that it takes you hours and hours and hours and multiple reboots. So it's so much easier. The first section is sort of Windows isn't really that much different. But the second one makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah, one more. I have just a few more things. I'll do them very quickly. The next version of Linux has reached the second release candidate just now. I'm not sure how important this is because it's something that happens every 2 weeks or so, or even less than that. I think a week and a half is the normal cycle. And the other thing is, as you probably know, Peters has left the GNOME Foundation, so they currently look for a person to replace her. So if any person wants to be the, I think it's the, not chairman anymore, is it the director of the GNOME Foundation? They're looking for a person to hire. I think it's worth drawing attention to if any person is capable of doing this job, because she moved to Mozilla Foundation instead of the GNOME Foundation, and she announced this about 2 weeks ago. One more thing, just a couple more things, is a distribution